This man has arrived at a mysterious town where time doesn't work the same as the outside world, but that is just the first of the many mysteries hell discover. A man named Ethan Burke, who is an agent of the U.S. Secret Service, wakes up in the middle of a forest, heavily injured. He stumbles into a nearby town, into a coffee shop, and asks a woman where he is. She replies that he is in the town of Wayward Pines, Idaho. Ethan is shocked to hear this, and then he collapses. Next, Ethan awakens in the hospital where a nurse tells him that he was in a terrible car accident. He remembers being in the car with his partner, Agent Stallings, and discussing that he is currently working on the missing person case of his former partner, Kate Hewson, which is complicated because she is also the woman he had an affair with. Stallings only begins asking if Ethan's wife knows he's working this case when they run into a massive truck. In the present, Ethan asks where Stallings is, and the nurse informs him that he didn't make it. He asks if he can have his phone and his other belongings, and she tells him that the sheriff's department has those. In Seattle, Washington, Ethan's boss, Adam Hassler, learns about the car accident. He tells his colleague that Stallings' body was found burned at the scene, but Ethan's was nowhere to be seen. He updates Ethan's wife, Teresa, about this development. Meanwhile, back in Wayward Pines, Ethan decides to leave, and as he is leaving, he notices that, oddly, the rest of the hospital is completely deserted. The nurse gravely warns him not to go, but he doesn't listen. He goes to the sheriff's office to get his belongings, but it is closed. Next, Ethan arrives at a bar where he meets a woman named Beverly. She asks him what brings him to town, and he tells her that he works for the Secret Service and is looking for two of their agents who have gone missing, Kate Hewson and Bill Evans. Beverly says that the names don't ring a bell. Ethan tries using Beverly's phone to call Teresa, but it goes straight to voicemail. He doesn't have money to pay for his order because his wallet is at the sheriff's office, so Beverly gives him her address so that he can contact her and pay her back later. Strangely, on the back of the piece of paper, she writes, "There are no crickets in Wayward Pines." As Ethan is walking outside, he hears crickets in a bush, and he reaches in and finds out that the noise is coming from a tiny speaker. The next morning, Ethan arrives at the address that Beverly gave him, but instead of finding her, he finds an abandoned old house, and when he goes inside, he finds the decaying corpse of Bill Evans tied to a bed. Evans arrives at the sheriff's office and meets Sheriff Arnold Pope. He informs Sheriff Pope that he found the body of Bill Evans with clear signs that he had been tortured. He also informs him that he's looking for Kate Hewson. Sheriff Pope says hell put the word out for Kate and go to inspect Bill's body, but he doesn't seem to be taking any of this very seriously. Ethan tries calling Teresa and even the Secret Service through the sheriff's phone, but gets no response from either. Next, Ethan arrives at the bar again and asks for Beverly, but a man there tells him that no woman works at this bar, so there is no way he could have met Beverly here. Ethan doesn't understand why everyone in this town is behaving so strangely and loses it. He attacks the man, but the man fights back and knocks him out. After Ethan is knocked out, the man speaks to someone through a walkie-talkie and refers to Ethan as October 16th, 28. Ethan awakens in a hospital cuffed to his bed, and a psychiatrist, Dr. Jenkins, begins examining him. Back in Seattle, Hassler investigates the car Ethan and Stallings crashed in and finds that there is no sign that Ethan was in the car during the crash. No blood, no hair, and no DNA match of any kind. At the hospital, Jenkins says that Ethan has bleeding in his brain, which is causing him to experience hallucinations, and they must get him into surgery. Ethan does not consent to the surgery, but they don't listen. The nurse gives him a sedative and leaves him in front of the operation theater, but just then, Beverly arrives and takes Ethan away. The nurse catches up to them during their escape attempt, but Ethan knocks her out. Just then, the sedative kicks in, and Beverly has to carry Ethan to a safe location, which is the local graveyard. Ethan asks her if she actually works at the bar or not, and she replies that she does. She tells him that they are just trying to break his mind. They did the same thing to her when she first came here in 1999, 1 year ago. Confused, Ethan tells her 1999 wasn't 1 year ago. It is currently 2014. He then passes out. Hassler tells Teresa that Ethan's DNA was not found in the car, which means he isn't dead, just missing. Teresa gets worried that perhaps Ethan has run away with Kate since he was on a mission to find her. In Wayward Pines, Ethan finally spots Kate, who appears to be living a normal life here. He follows her and her husband home, and when he knocks at the door, Kate first pretends to not recognize him. But then, when her husband leaves, she warns Ethan in a hushed voice that they are being watched and heard. He looks up and sees a camera on her porch fan. Ethan notices that Kate is looking significantly old and asks how long she's been here, to which she replies 12 years. Ethan is bewildered because he just saw Kate weeks ago, but Kate says that she doesn't have answers for him and that he should leave because he is putting her and her husband's life at risk. Ethan inquires from whom they are at risk, but Kate suddenly smiles and tells him that he could be happy here before going back inside. Next, Ethan steals a car and tries to drive out of town, but every road he takes brings him right back to where he started. Meanwhile, Hassler meets up with Dr. Jenkins in Seattle and talks about wanting to call something off, but Jenkins replies that it's too late. Ethan stops at the side of the road and runs into the jungle, where he discovers a giant wall that surrounds the entire town. There's a warning on the wall which says that beyond this point lies death. Ethan returns to the car, and Sheriff Pope arrives. He asks the sheriff how he can get out of this town, and the sheriff simply replies that will not. He puts Ethan against the car and tells him that he has called the Secret Service office, and they have confirmed that no one named Ethan Burke works there. He tells Ethan to remain in his hotel room because he is now the primary suspect for Bill's murder. The next day, Ethan returns to the address Beverly gave him and finds that Bill's body is still there. He finds a notebook in Bill's boot, but before he can remove it, Sheriff Pope arrives and tells him to go back to his hotel. Ethan arrives at the bar to meet Beverly, and she turns on loud music and dances with him so that they can speak in hushed voices without being heard. She tells him that Bill was planning to escape this place with her before he died. He had his entire plan written in a notebook. Ethan makes a call to the Secret Service again and gets the receptionist, who doesn't seem very eager to talk to him. He asks her if she's sitting in front of the 7th floor office in Seattle, and she replies yes. Ethan tells her that there is no 7th floor office, and she cuts the call, confirming his suspicions. Next, Ethan arrives to see Kate, while reminiscing their affair. He demands that she speak to him properly, but she keeps playing the character she seems to have adapted in this town. However, she gives him a hint that Bill has a widow whom he can go and talk to. As he is leaving, he sees a notice on her wall about the rules of this town. The rules are: do not try to leave, do not discuss the past, do not discuss your life before, always answer the phone if it rings. Ethan meets with Bill's widow, and she tells him that Bill killed himself. Afterward, he goes to see Sheriff Pope and asks him if he's made any progress with Bill's case. The sheriff informs him that forensics has taken Bill's body to the morgue at the hospital. Ethan goes to the hospital and steals the notebook from Bill's belongings, but as he is leaving, he spots his wife and son being brought in on stretchers. As he follows them, he runs into Jenkins again, who continues to insist that Ethan is hallucinating and requests that Ethan let him perform the surgery. Ethan runs away again. Next, Ethan meets up with Beverly and shows her that Bill made a whole escape plan that they can use to get out. Beverly tells him that first he needs to remove his microchip, and Ethan learns that he's had one in his leg the whole time. Beverly tells him that when she first woke up in this town, she was so disoriented that she actually believed she lived here. But then, she started remembering her past life, and since then, she's been pretending like everyone else out of fear. Ethan asks what everyone fears, and she reveals it's Sheriff Pope. She tells Ethan that he's the one who killed Bill. He slit Bill's throat in front of the entire town. Next, the two take a walk through town and run into Kate, who invites them to dinner. Beverly doesn't want to go, but Ethan says they have to. Ethan and Beverly head toward Kate's for dinner, and he tells her the plan. He says they'll hide their chips in Kate's bathroom, leave the dinner early, and then they'll make their escape attempt, so that whoever is tracking them thinks they're still there. Beverly is very nervous and scared. During dinner, Beverly accidentally lets slip that she has a daughter in Portland, and then gets even more nervous, since she isn't supposed to talk about the past. Kate seems oddly determined to get Beverly to talk about her daughter, even when Beverly tries to change the subject. Beverly excuses herself to go to the bathroom and then just runs out. Ethan excuses himself as well, and after he leaves, it is revealed that Kate and her husband knew about their escape plan all along. Outside, as Ethan calms Beverly down, phones start ringing all over the town, and Beverly reveals that this is exactly what happened when they killed Bill. The townspeople start coming out of their houses with weapons in their hands, and Ethan tells Beverly to run while he distracts them. However, Beverly still gets caught. One man follows Ethan inside a house, and Ethan uses a fork to kill him. Afterward, he looks out of the window and finds Beverly being publicly executed while people cheer. Sheriff Pope slits her throat and reveals that it was Kate and her husband who informed him of Beverly's crimes of speaking about the past and trying to escape the town. He gives a speech about how their community is a superior way of life, and anybody who threatens it must be dealt with. Then, he chants the rules of Wayward Pines and the people recite them. Ethan tries to take the escape route Bill highlighted on his map, but his path is interrupted by men with guns. Afterward, Ethan arrives at Kate's house and calls her out for being spineless and evil. She tells him that he has been given a second chance by not being executed today, which is rare in this place, so he should take it, because he is not going to escape this town alive. Meanwhile, Teresa and Ben arrive in Idaho to look for Ethan, because they're tired of getting no answers from the Secret Service. Teresa arrives at the Secret Service office in Idaho and secretly uses one of their computers to log into Ethan's account and figure out where he made his last purchase. Hassler gets news of Teresa snooping around, and he informs Jenkins. Teresa arrives at the shop where Ethan stopped and learns that he was in an accident en route to Wayward Pines. On the way there, Teresa is stopped by Pope, who pretends to help Teresa with an oil leak, but secretly sabotages her car. Ethan discovers that a food truck is coming into town from Wisconsin and tries to hide in it to get out. Instead, he ends up in some kind of underground bunker where he spots Teresa's car. As he tries to go through the car, Pope arrives and injects him with a sedative. Ethan wakes up in the hospital and is informed that his wife and son are here and they have been taken to his home. It is revealed that Beverly's home has been assigned to the Burkes. Ethan reunites with Teresa and Ben and asks them how they ended up here. They say that they were told at the hospital they had an accident, but they don't remember it. Ethan doesn't explain the whole situation to them just yet. He tells them to stay in the house because this place is not safe, and goes to see the sheriff. Ethan angrily warns Pope not to come anywhere near his family, and Pope tries to escalate the situation. But just then, he gets a call which tells him to stand down, and Ethan realizes that he is not the man in charge in this town. On the way back, Ethan runs into Jenkins, who begs Ethan to consider staying here because they need a man like him in this town. Kate is waiting for Ethan at his house, and Ben follows the two as they secretly head to the woods. Kate tells Ethan that she's tried everything she can in the last 12 years, but she hasn't found a way out, and she hasn't found an answer to why it's been 12 years for her, but only a few weeks for Ethan. She says the only way to survive here is to play along. Ben informs Teresa that he saw Ethan with Kate, and she angrily decides to leave, thinking Ethan is still cheating. However, as she and Ben are about to leave town, they are stopped by an angry Pope, who takes out his frustrations with Ethan on them. Ethan arrives on the scene and beats Pope up, but Pope manages to get the upper hand. Right as he is about to shoot Ethan, Ben hits him with his own truck. Ethan grabs Pope's gun, and as he is about to shoot him, he warns Ethan that he doesn't want to know the truth. It's worse than anything he could imagine. Ethan shoots him in the head. In Pope's pocket, Ethan finds a remote that opens a door in the town barrier, but as the door rises, a mysterious creature of some kind enters and drags Pope's body away. Hearing shrill, beastly screams from beyond the barrier, Ethan quickly closes the door and drives away. Wayward Pines is a 2015 American TV series based on a novel of the same name, which went on for 2 seasons. While the first season of the show received mostly favorable reviews, generating excitement in audiences, the second season failed to keep the momentum up, as it was labeled dull and repetitive. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.